do some more dreams.
Hello, guys.
Pleasure.
Nice to meet
Thanks
you.
for coming.
My name is Max. I am one of the reviewers and hopefully a future streamer here for ConFreaks and Geeks group. We do lots of anime, manga, video game reviews, and movie reviews, and been a good year for all those. I could say that at least. And here at PlayStation Experience, day 2, still a little mind blown from the first day. And we're checking out games here, and it looks really neat. So what do you got for us right now here?
So, I mean, what we're going to do is just kind of, John's going to model some stuff for us that, we've been showing the forest level and the various playthroughs and things like that.
Okay.
And we just wanted to show people a bit how you make it and then play through it. And then also maybe it's kind of up to you guys if you're more interested in the kind of creative aspect of it or more in the play aspect. We can kind of go either way.
Okay.
So, just lead the way if you.
Yeah, well, so far I'm going to let John do his magic here and kind of work here with the creating. So you could build a forest pretty quickly, it looks like, with the trees here then.
Yeah, actually, a big part of it is you don't have to necessarily sculpt everything. Like people think, oh, it's a sculpting tool. It is a sculpting tool at its core, but we also have these assembly tools where you could find pieces other people made.
That already made assets. So you can build them, or you can take others and use them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think that's the biggest distinction between this and like Little Big Planet. If you ever played that.
Yeah.
So in Little Big Planet, you had a lot of creative control over how you assemble the assets.
Right.
And you can even make, platforms and things with CSG. But the assets were all made by Media Molecule outside of the tool. So in a way, it was halfway, so to speak. Whereas this is 100% made in the tool. So nothing you see here wasn't made in the tool. So we didn't use any off-the-shelf tools like Photoshop or Maya. There's no textures, nothing that isn't made on the PlayStation.
Gotcha.
So the big difference is you still have the awesome assembly that you had in Little Big Planet, like that still simple feel of creation. But you can seed it with the content of like professional artists in Media Molecule, and then like artists in the community can actually contribute to it now. So it's a much
bigger open expanse to it. Oh,
yeah,
it makes sense.
So what John did here is he found some of his favorite pieces that are good for making forests, like a rock, some deserty bits, and dirt bits, and forests and trees and rivers and stuff, and he put them into a collection, and he published that collection for anybody to use if they want to make a forest.
Oh, that's cool. So you can make whole presets then,
Yeah.
and then put them out there and say, hey, if you're looking for this type of thing, you have this that you can use if you'd like. Oh, that's really cool.
It's like a kit you can start with, and you can see that there's only like 10, 15 pieces in this collection. That's it right here, and like out of those few pieces, by rotating and changing scale and stuff, you can make stuff that looks very unique and individual with just a few pieces.
Oh, cool. And setting up steps, I see.
Yeah, so it's... before the stream, you were asking about the kind of play look versus the painterly look.
Oh, right. So I noticed that as I was looking at the art style, there are parts here and there where it looks like it was kind of gentle brush strokes.
Yeah.
And then there are other parts that look like they were just kind of hard sculpted out of clay. So where was the inspiration that kind of came for that?
Well, we started with the hard sculpting look. Basically just because, 3D creation is about filling void.
Right.
Filling the void in 3D space. So in 2D, drawing a line makes a lot of sense. But in 3D, to make a circle or a sphere, you need to really fill that space. So drawing lines in 3D is essentially volume is the lines of 3D, so to speak.
Okay.
In the math sense.
I'm following you.
So basically, we wanted to start with whatever tools let us, block out a mesh. So similarly, how if you ever seen like how do you draw a head or how do you draw a body, they tell you draw some circles, start with that, and then work on from there to add detail. So in 3D, the equivalent of that is you start with big volumes and kind of chip away, and it feels a lot more like working with clay.
Right.
So we started there, and we got really good looks out of that, very chiseled looks or clay-like looks. Lots of different artistic talent kind of came through that, but there was something missing, like because at the end of that, it still just looked like a normal game in a way. And the tools are amazing, and it was really good for user-generated like content, but they didn't quite have that thumbprint yet. It looked a bit much like clay, and some games can have that aesthetic and just push it all the way. Like there's an old game called Neverhood that was just like all clay. But because it's a UGC game, we want it to make different types of games, not just one aesthetic. So we really wanted everybody who creates and dreams to be able to put their own thumbprint on it. And to do that, it just needed a bit more than just clay. So we added this sort of soft brushstroke look. In between those two, like Kareem and John call it like the hard and the soft styles, they really complement each other. So it's not about one or the other. It's like you kind of have to have both in order to give this unique feel to it. So that's kind of how that came about. We started with the clay look and then evolved towards this more mixed, painterly, don't even know what to call it, dreams look, I guess. So.
Yeah, I rather like that though, because it gives you you can kind of tell not just between, this is a harder object and a softer object, but you can get an idea of what the texture itself might feel like if you were touching it too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting that we also, we don't do any texturing. So all the texture you see here is much more painterly. Like there is no wood texture. The reason that tree looks like a tree is because of John's artistic decisions.
Right.
So he used the brush strokes in a kind of grainy way, and he made it brown, and that's what makes it wood. So it's not like there's a texture palette. You say, oh, I want wood. Here's the wood texture.
Right.
Because if you go down that route, you end up just searching for more and more textures and textures and textures. Whereas when you paint, it's all about how you use the brush stroke.
Right.
And that's very human and artistic. So we really wanted that to come across. So that's what gives everything that unique flavor. Like we have all those different levels that we showed off, and they all have a distinct feel. And it's just because that's how the different artists within our team use it. And everybody will have their own look. Like, John Beach, who does a lot of like mechs, he made this model here, which we 3D printed.
Oh, that's cool. That's really
cool.
All
tight. That's fully metal, cut. So you can get a really good traditional look out of it, but then you can go in and add some, like a cape to it, some strokes. So you get this really interesting juxtaposition of like the tight and the soft. So we don't want people to think about textures and material. We want them to just focus on kind of the vision.
Right, so they can make basically whatever they want. They just have to... Would you say this game is going to be a real time consumer?
Oh yeah, I mean, we spend hours in this just making stuff. So if that's the thing that appeals to you, you just sit down and get to making, and you'll be there for a while. I mean, but the other kind of more playful aspect of it is you can actually, we call it dream surfing. And like that portal that John put in to the corner there
leads to another dream, right?
To another dream. And so the idea is that through one dream may have many portals in it, and each one might go to a different dream. And as you move through this kind of Dreamiverse, so to speak, you can end up in really strange places, and that has an interesting feel of its own. So like, it's almost a bit when you go on YouTube or Wikipedia, and you're like following links, and you start by looking at Batman,
and everything ends up at math at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Some crazy, or like a cat video, or reading about some...
I was reading about Superman, and the next thing I know, I ended up on a cat article. I have no idea how I got here.
And it's 4 a.m., and oh god, I have work in the morning. So it's kind of like that, but with games and movies. So I think, if you think about it like that, it's kind of like a YouTube surfing experience, but instead of just videos, you can hit games, movies, artistic creations.
Right.
Or just rooms where people are hanging out. So it's much more freeform, and it's really... What it's going to be is what the community makes it. We'll seed it with content like that we would make, but the community is going to be just as big of a part of it as we are.
Well, that's another thing too, is that the internet is a giant artistic community. I can't tell you how many thousands of artists there are, and most of them are incredibly talented.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the more interesting things that you guys have seen people make? Like, have you seen anything that struck you as particularly unusual or particularly striking?
Every week, man. Like, it's so hard to pin down. Like, we have these weekly check-in emails where people just sort of say, "Oh, here's what I did this week," and they send their pictures of their content and videos.
Maybe it'd be a good time to jump into some of the play stuff, because that would show the kind of the breadth, maybe.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do that?
Yeah.
No, that's cool.
If you want to chat about
I can chat more when I'm playing than I am when I am creating.
Yeah. Well, the last thing I remember, just like, since John is on the stream, like when you did those heads that were very painterly, that was really like that was the first one, because for a long time we would do heads using the chiseled look, just the clay style, because heads and faces have a lot of detail, so it's really hard to make something loose and impressionistic.
Right.
And then like it took, I don't know, 6 or 8 months of John finding.
Yeah, and it's actually the closest experience I've had to painting, but in 3D. Quite a lot of, well, I say quite a lot, I think all of the artists on the team are oil painters or traditional artists, and I think that's really manifested itself in like where you're about to see in the different levels. But really interestingly, it's the first project I think I've seen where people's style comes through. So we're really trying to embrace the fact that different individuals will have different styles, rather than everyone doing the same thing and kind of homogenizing it. So that's really been really interesting.
So the thing we did for PSX is we made I don't actually know because I was in the US at this time, but I think everybody essentially had like a leader for every area kind of thing. Somebody, you did this level, so this is the forest scene. Mike did the bear, the character for it. But basically, that's the imp. It's kind of you in the world.
And you can change his little facial expressions.
Yeah, I'm drawing the expressions on, and then also for the
because we could have like.
Please tell me you guys are going to sell plushies.
Yeah, it is a good idea.
So the way that we arrange this content is we have these different scenes and portals leading to different scenes, so people can see the different kinds of creation you can do. So this forest level, is a bit of a hub. And if you look around and you're careful, you'll find different portals hidden inside the level. And some of them, you know, we have this bear.
Let's stick with them actually.
Walk through.
Which one should we go to? Should we go to the war one?
Let's go to the war one.
Yeah.
Let's go to the war one. Yeah.
Yeah. What's it good for? Absolutely nothing.
So you can imagine you find this area and you kind of just wander in. And you end up in a completely different experience. By the way, that's the load time.
Yeah, straight in.
Oh wow,
brand new level.
That's like a nanosecond.
Visually very different, and you can immediately tell. I know it's Francis's style. Who's the guy that made Sackboy? Maybe he got broken by the experience, and now he wants to make the other end, the darker end.
But yeah, it's interesting because obviously we know Francis, so we can kind of identify and say, oh, that's Francis. But what we're aiming for is that the community starts to spring up artists that are famous within the community. So we really want to big up the artists in the community, and the game creators, and the streamers, and the curators of content, painters, whatever. So everybody's gonna kind of have a hand in it. Bring in your own unique style. Like even if you're not actually making sculpting or putting stuff together and making music, it can still be like curating stuff, because there's so much content that people will make. It's so easy to make it. Actually, a really important role is curating it. So finding good stuff, like John's Forest collection.
Which is Pinterest, and it's a creative endeavor in itself. There'll be people that are just really good at collecting other great stuff to use, and that in itself is it's a really exciting thing to see that.
So I have a question about these models here, because obviously you can make them from scratch and make them however which way you see fit. What's the level of articulation that you can do with them? Because usually puppets have kind of a limited amount of things you could do with them, depending on their articulation points. Is there a limit to how you can articulate with them?
Well, I mean, maybe you could show some of the puppeteering of it, but we use the motion controls, so we do camera tracking and gyro tracking. So we really leverage the full controller.
Right.
And the animation itself is seeded by your own motion, and that makes it very human.
And I would say it's more, think of it more in terms of like Jim Henson than Pixar.
Right.
But they're at very different ends, but they're both very charming. And Jim Henson's got that real handmade feel. If you look at something like Labyrinth or The Dark Crystal, it's definitely got its own flavour, and it's still got, it's very human because you know those puppets are being animated directly, and there's something it's really good fun to like just adding performance to add to the story. It's really good fun.
They can have different number of pieces. I think right now the puppets are made out of
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. But we've had puppets with full hands and faces and things like that. So they can be very, very articulated. It completely depends on what you want to make. It's a bit like,
In fact, now's a good time to head to the...
Oh yeah, maybe we can go check out the different characters. So you can already see the variety, like that character and the bear and the soldier were all made from the same starting base.
And we're also hinting at the fact that by possessing these different characters, now we can get inside somewhere we couldn't previously. So playing about with scale, that kind of Alice in Wonderland. Now I'm this small character, I can get to places in the same environment that I was before. But this is just some of the characters that have been made, and these characters they take very little time to make. So the game itself, like the ethos of the art, is definitely embracing sketching. Because the faster you can make something, the more risks you'll always take, and the more risks you'll take, you'll always end up with better results because you've been taking more risks. So we've just been embracing the sketchy side, but the puppet creator makes it really fast, doesn't it, to actually make
a
dancing banana.
Watch out for that banana. Hello. So, looking at this now here, I was kind of wondering, when you guys were kind of setting up these tools to allow them to create, did you guys think about how animators might potentially use this?
Oh, absolutely. That's kind of going to John's point about puppeteering. Traditional game animation is very focused on kind of in tools, changing animation curves. I don't know if you've ever seen Maya or those kind of tools. It's all about tweaking curves, and it's less about the handmade feel of it. And we think that plenty of amazing animation comes out of tools like Maya. Lots of movies, Pixar style movies, that's like the high end of it. But it's actually a very technical thing, and it's very difficult to do. So I think it's a bad fit for like a console UGC game. But puppeteering is an amazing fit because it's very tactile and it's very easy for anyone to pick up, but it still has that high end. You can give a kid like a sock puppet, and they can have like a little chat and make a little theater show, or then you take it all the way like to Labyrinth, like John was saying, and that's it's a completely different. We need in all our tools to have that scale of skill. We don't want to make tools that are just for the beginner. We also don't want to make a tool just for the expert.
Right.
We want to make a tool that inspires the beginner to become better and better and better. Until,
I'm really excited as well by the concept of collaboration. Let's just head out a second. We'll start that again. The concept of collaboration. So anyone can join my dream, and whether that's to make something together or just to watch me. But I really like the idea of collaboration for the animation. So something like Cirque du Soleil, when you see that like 4 people animating an elephant, I'd love to see what people can do with multiple people animating one thing. You can imagine like 3 people animating a boss character in the middle of at the end of a platforming game. Exactly live. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's really cool. I did also want to ask, because as I'm looking at the bear, I'm kind of noticing there are kind of fluff circles, I guess you could say. So is it that you can make the characters kind of piece by piece, like you can kind of hand choose how you do it, or if you have to craft something, you can say, okay, I need it to be this big, but I don't have something, so I'm going to sculpt this out, fill it out with the right color, and then you kind of plop them together like clay would, or how does that work?
You could kind of do it either way, to be honest. The simplest way we have is that we actually give you a base puppet that is very much like one of those wooden mannequins, if you've ever seen those.
Right. Okay. Whoa.
Yeah.
Earthquake going on in the sea.
Earthquake under the sea?
I was going to say we're on point in San Fran, right?
Space.
So you start with a base mannequin, and then you reproportion it into something that's close to what you want, and then you use sculpture to take you the rest of the way there, or you can kind of add pieces like shoulder pads and arms and whatever, like just by stamping. So there's a big variety to kind of how you can create the characters. On the previous stream, Maya was sculpting characters, so for anyone interested in checking it out, you can watch some of the earlier streams and see how actually these characters get made. And it's also very, very quick. And all of the characters you see in this game were made with the same base puppet, so to speak. So it's quite a fast endeavor.
We're also
really cool.
Sorry.
So
I was going to say we're also trying to like blur the line with playing and creating. So, for example, you might be given like, I don't know, challenges. You're given items, and you're actually I'm making stuff here with the collectible that I've just picked up. And to some people, making content is quite intimidating. And when we were making Tearaway, we found that the kind of stealth create is a great way in. Decorate this pumpkin, and people they don't realise they're making it. They really enjoy making it, and I think that's a great thing that we really need to embrace. So here, I'm placing down some blocks. So I'm still making. I'm still creating. I'm adding to the level, and I think it's going to be exciting to get blend that line as well.
It's cool. So for assets that are already made, so let's say my friend makes this really cool thing, and I think I want to use that somehow. I have an idea I can use that. How easy is it to take pre-made things, and is it possible to like give it your own kind of spin? Like he made this really nice looking piece of armor, but I want to tweak a couple details on it and make it kind of my own.
Totally.
So it's really easy to do that too.
Think of it like sampling in music, like hip hop taking a track, breaking it down, cutting it up, and using it some other way. So we have the concept of a remix. So, for example, you could take this mech character and think, well, I want to start with somebody else's work, but I want to make it mine, and I want to add to it. So you remix it, it then becomes yours, but it gives credit to the original owner. So it's the idea of passing it on, and that's really an exciting prospect as well. And you can imagine passing it backwards and forwards, maybe with someone like that kind of thing. Do you want to talk a bit more about that, the technical side of that?
I could, yeah. And also, whenever you guys, if you want to switch up, just let me know.
Yeah, I'll stick here for a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's cool. Just let me know. I think the remixing thing is really powerful, and like John was saying, it's really important that people get credit for it. What we don't want to have happen is that you make something cool and somebody else takes it and just like
and you don't get any credit for your creation. Yeah,
for it, it's like I make a level and your mech is the star in it, and you're not even anywhere to be seen.
Yeah.
Right? So the game will auto-generate the credits for the level. So if I make a level that has your mech in it, you'll show up, like when you look at the credits, you'll say, okay, level by Anton, mech by Max. So it's like it's just as important to attribute stuff to people as it is to be able to sharing.
Oh, absolutely.
Changing it up, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's really cool. So, how easy is it to set it up to make the animation go a certain way? Like, obviously you can build the mech how you want, but the way you make him walk, is it specific to the way that it's built, or is it specific to the way that you animate it? How's that kind of work?
That's a great question. It's actually both. So there's like a walking code thing inside the game. It's a bit of code that Dave wrote that basically takes the puppet and figures out what's a nice way of walking with it, and figures out how the foot placement works and the arms and all of that. So that piece of code has some inputs to it, like, for example, one of them is how sassy you want the character to be. So you could probably maybe show you later on. I don't know, maybe I don't know, later character. I don't know. At the end of the whole run through, we can maybe check it out. We can show you more about it. But yeah, basically it's a combination. Like if you make a really tall character, like really stretched out, that's actually quite a stretched out character, just tiny. And it has straight, kind of goat style feet. So all of that makes a change in how the character behaves and walks. But then you could also individually tweak things like how much you want them to raise their legs, and like how.
And on top of that as well, the initial pose that you set them in, it derives some attitude from that. So the three of us can take the same character, pose them differently, and they'll also reflect that in how they walk.
Huh.
Yes,
That's really
make
cool.
them, like really hunched over, then kind of walk that
Oh,
way.
that's awesome. All right, well, I think I'm going to go ahead and pass this one off to Davies here, because that's pretty much all the questions I want to know. I just want to know, do you guys have a general release window for this yet? Are you still working on
We're
that?
doing a beta early next year.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, enjoying the fun.
Actually, I do have one more question here, because I saw you guys are using the PlayStation
Yep.
Move earlier, now using the
Yep.
PS4 controller. Do you feel one has a particular advantage over the
Not
other?
really.
or-
So I think using the moves is potentially faster because there's 2 input devices, but there are nothing in the menus. It's the same menus, so there's nothing that you get on one that you don't get on the other.
So the difference is really using, 2 arms and
Exactly.
2
So it's a little
hands
bit
as opposed
faster,
to
but
one
actually
controller.
assembling stuff with the scenes with the DualShock is arguably easier because you're also using 2 hands to keep it very steady. So
Right.
we're supporting everything. And we'll be supporting without a camera as well, so just pure DualShock. So we want to make sure as many people can get to use it. So we're not just favouring one thing.
Okay, cool. Well, that's really good to know, because I know not everybody has a PlayStation
Yeah.
Move, and
But the people that do, they can use them. So, and we've always done that with Tearaway when we had the Vita, and we had all these amazing controls in this little package, trying to use all of the kit in there. I think that as a studio, that's something we really love doing. So embracing all the different technologies to just make the experience even more well-rounded. It's just really exciting.
cool. All right. Well, thank you very much. Here, I'm going to go ahead and switch on and over to Davies, but I really
Pleasure.
appreciate you guys showing me this, and I'll definitely be
great.
checking this out here when the beta rolls around here and see what I can come up with. All right. Davies. I'm going to go ahead and switch on over to Davies here and see what he's got for you guys.
All right,
That's
sorry
right.
about that.
Hey, no worries, Bill. How's it going?
I'm doing good. I'm Davis with the CFG
Hey.
as well.
Pleasure, man.
Yeah, I was talking earlier about the time when I saw this Dreams was coming that came to E3. It was announced earlier this E3. I was like, this is a great idea. This was an awesome plan. So, but I wanted to kind of I was like, I need to get more information about it.
Fire away.
Yeah, so basically, this seems like it's like a fully integrated world. You basically can make whatever you want. You basically make whatever you want into it. I guess it's just the dynamics. Like how would you start place the world around you like that? Like how does that work?
Do you want me to jump in to create?
Yeah, maybe we should.
We should totally come back to that level though.
Oh yeah, we'll come back to this. This is a really interesting one. We'll just get
Oh.
more slightly. We'll get right back to.
Oh, do you want to
Oh.
go straight into create, or you want to stick here? What do you want to do?
We'll come back to it.
Yeah.
We'll come back to it.
Oh yeah.
This is like a moving painting thing. We'll just show
Oh
you
yeah. Actually, I would love to see this.
So I'll go into
Yeah.
create, yeah?
But yeah, we'll show you a bit about John's creation.
Okay.
So, like you said, it's a fully integrated kind of bottom-up thing. So you can start. There's lots of ways you can start, I guess, is the point. You can start by sculpting everything from scratch, which is kind of the most raw. If you've got your own vision, just go from there.
Yeah.
But actually, a really good way to start is with pre-made assets. So it's not necessarily even a simpler thing or like a easy mode or whatever. It's just that oftentimes, like John will make lots of pieces that he can then use to creatively assemble a new scene.
Right.
So he's made this forest scene entirely out of modular little pieces. So to do that, he's made a collection, which is called just the Redwood Collection. It has all of these little bits, and he can kind of put any of them down and extend the level.
Ah. Okay.
And what that gives you is this ability to very rapidly create a larger level without actually having to make any sculpts or like.
Oh, okay.
It's almost like a curated search results.
That makes sense. So yeah, because I was thinking when you said, oh yeah, you can make whatever you want into this, and you can make the landscape and everything yourself. I'm like, I'm horrible. I'm a horrible artist myself.
I'm not great either, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's gonna be like
you could just grab a piece, like whole piece of land, whole piece of river, just boom, boom, boom.
Wow, and copy paste. It's basically copy paste.
Yeah, you just copy paste half the level.
And anyone can do this.
So,
trust me. We'll watch this. This is a really cool tool that Anton developed, and I think pretty much all the artists love this.
The artists love it, the programmers hate it.
So you can take any object and clone it, and then you can multiple clone.
So you can just keep repeating and repeating the object. So it's really good for making stairs or making like large pieces of terrain.
Right.
It's just 2 moves, you know.
Yeah.
And boom.
And it's simple to kind of just do that motion once you get into
You
it.
just do that immediately, and it lets you just create. Like, obviously, John's tastefully picking how he's placing the pieces.
Right.
But that's not the hard part, you know. Everybody's learned to play with blocks as a kid. Like
Yeah.
It's just like that, except with whatever assets you can find. You don't have to sculpt anything. You just go and search. And find whatever you need.
Oh yeah, big time. And what about like story elemental? I'm assuming you could do the same thing. It's the same thing. It shows you that kind of diversity that you can make into it.
Like
So,
we were just walking through a bunch of levels and backs. Everybody's got their own unique style, how they assemble these levels, and we have logic tools. We're not really showing much of it today, but we have tools that let you script like little sequences,
right.
and do animations and puppeting. So, you know, puppeting a character is as easy as grabbing the character, you know, recording that sequence and just letting go, and that's it. So
Yeah.
there's no complex animation tools or anything. So
Oh, okay, that's awesome. So like you were saying earlier when you were showing the portrait, the live portrait itself, like something like that. Is that like an advanced level of something, or could that be something that you would be?
It's sort of, it's an interesting question because it's advanced in the sense that it requires some knowledge about artistry itself, right? Like, so that portrait level is modeled after Cézanne, who's like a post-impressionist artist.
Yeah.
It's in the style of Cézanne, and Menlou did, and Menlou's a fantastic artist. But you can just as easily make a collection out of that whole level, just like John did with the forest. And now you've got a bunch of pieces that are like impressionistic pieces. So all of a sudden you can compose a new painting with much less effort than it took Menlou originally.
Right.
So that's kind of like the community bootstrapping itself. So it only takes a few people that are really like at the core of it, creating these collections.
Yeah.
And everybody else sort of benefits from it. And of course, again, the people that make the collections and the pieces get credit, so everyone's kind of working together.
Oh yeah. Yeah, one of the biggest things though too, it's like, I mean, the style of gameplay is somewhat similar to kind of like the customization that was in Little Big Planet. But like, I mean, what was the idea? What was the motion that y'all decided to say after Little Big Planet was over? Saying, I just wanted to make a game that's 100%, you know, like it's not like it wasn't far from the imagination, but it's kind of like, you know what, we wanted to make this completely integrated.
Yeah, because I think with Little Big Planet, even though it was
user.
creating content, we still made the objects in 3D packages. Everything in here is made on the PlayStation 4, absolutely everything. So that's a really exciting way of broadening, and we wanted it to be fully 3D as well, rather than being 2.5D. Yeah, it is, but
I guess.
But you know, so for example, actually, it's a good time to show the animation. So you can quite literally animate absolutely anything, and it takes as long as the animation to animate it. So I can grab, all I need hit record, grab this, move it around. Obviously, this is a rock, right? But
yeah,
stop record, rewind, hit play, and there we go. But you can imagine that being birds or leaves falling or cars passing on a highway. You know, it's like again, anyone can kind of do that. It's like when you're a kid and you've got 2 toy soldiers and you're kind of and it's playing, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is amazing. And I like the fact the integration that y'all used with the PS Move controllers too. All of this is like. Make you really immersed in all of
and
this.
I can totally.
Yeah, we were just talking with Max earlier. It's like we actually support all the controllers. We support the moves. We support the DS4. Like everything you do, it's the same. It's the same thing.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
It's just a different controls layout.
Yeah.
Because the moves are much more about kind of articulation.
Right.
More of a tactile feel. And DS4 is a lot more like gadgety and
right.
tweak based. Like there's the analog sticks and buttons are very precise. There's a unique feel to it.
There we go. I've just done that with the DualShock.
There's a difference in how it's feel, but
Oh,
there you go.
same
It's
exact
like the same thing done with the DS4. So everybody has their own preferences, and we want to just support the creative community. However,
got loads of dancing rocks. Sorry.
Because not everybody has all the devices, and we want everyone to join in.
Right. Is there a way, like, plan-wise, like on like, I'm assuming with customization, with building all these levels, is there a way to kind of share this with your friends, and then also to kind of do all of that stuff?
Undoubtedly, and with the community at large, and collaboration is going to be, I think, a really exciting time of, multiple people working on the same space, or working on it and passing it on, or remixing stuff and seeing, because you're always getting the credit, giving it to the original authors. You can imagine, one of those rocks being turned into a character which gets used in, I can imagine it moving on and on and on. That's going to be super exciting.
It's already happened, like the eyeballs, it was a crystal eye, Crystal's dad eye ends up in
Yeah.
crystal eyeballs. Like all these pieces get used, like rocks get used for shoulder pads.
Yeah, and you can imagine, starting up your session and seeing, did you know your brick is being used in 65,000 levels or whatever? That kind of stuff is going to be super exciting.
That's so incredible. And literally, how this is now from what you started at initially.
Yes, really fast, right? So all of our content that we were showing, we did that in a game jam, and I did that Redwood level, and it was like a day and a half, 2 days. If I did that in traditional tools, it would be weeks. Because you saw the speed at which I've just extended this level. I haven't really got a plan, so I'm kind of just running with it. And because it's so fast, again, you can take those risks of just trying stuff out. And if it doesn't work, delete it and try something again, or remix it and get somebody else to have a go with it. So the content is really fast to make, and I think people will be surprised at how fast and quick it is to make. And because of that, I think creating art can be intimidating, but hopefully by making it sketchy and loose, it's the phenomenon, like for example with Bob Ross at the moment, like people love watching people make stuff, but they also want to learn. So that's a really exciting. That was really great for us. We were watching that ourselves, weren't we? Actually.
I kind of introduced some of the people at MM. Bob wasn't really huge in the UK.
No, not really.
I think.
No, we had a guy called Tony Hart, who is like our version, less hair.
That's the magic.
Little happy hair.
The soft, subtle voice. He's never getting angry.
So I remember the Twitch, Bob Ross Twitch came up and was sort of becoming popular. I was showing these guys like, hey, check this out, and it was obviously funny, like all the Twitch responses and everything. But like we also realized it was quite ahead of its time.
Really.
Yeah.
Like people are just watching this person paint.
Right.
Someone pointed out on the stream earlier that it's quite subtle. Like it's not actually. He's not teaching. Like he's painting, but doing it in a really attractive way. And I think that's part of this. Like when you watch people make stuff.
Yeah,
like,
but it won't be also just. It won't be all raw art creation. It's going to be the gameplay creation as well. So you imagine using the same analogy of remixing, taking this level and placing gameplay objects in it, or modifying the gameplay that's there. So you'll be able to remix anything from an entire. Someone maybe has made a platformer game, but you can go and change all the gameplay in it to be your own thing, all the way to just taking a rock, like the simplest element. So I think that's the exciting stuff for us, is there's going to be people that use it to make art, there's going to be people who use it to make short films, there's going to be a lot of people that use it to make games. So yeah.
Oh man, I could see that. I could easily see if Bob Ross was still alive, it would be a perfect.
Happy trees, man.
That would have been amazing. Never make no such thing as a mistake.
Pretty much.
Yep, that would be. That's great.
It's a really good point too, because like John was saying, when you make stuff quickly, you do run into like the happy accidents.
You had the happy accidents.
Sometimes they're not so happy, I have to admit. Angry accidents. So he made it look happy.
But you can cover it up, and like the speed at which you can paint over it. It's like once the speed at which you can create a tree is faster than like erasing it, like something different. Like once you get used to saying, oh yeah, well a tree takes 10 strokes. If you mess up a tree, just do another tree.
And if you've taken a week making that tree, there's no way, and it still looks bad. You've committed a week of your life to making that tree, and you won't get rid of it. Whereas if it doesn't take any time at all, it doesn't matter. So
hey, but now you have a story for that bad tree that you did for that week. So it could be like a dead tree or something. It's like or something, you know. So something that makes you don't feel as bad wasting that week on it. It was great. Well, out of all this time through Dreams, was there anything that was kind of like the head scratcher for y'all when y'all were going through this process? Like, was there something in there that you were wanting to get that was like more difficult than you?
Man, I think everything was difficult. I think everything's been difficult, which is why it's been such a great project. Actually, if I'm honest.
It's really when we sort of step back and we think. So what we're doing is we're mashing together a game engine, an animation package,
music,
lighting package, sound package,
wow,
sculpting package,
3D printing.
3D printing.
So you can have you seen the 3D prints? So that's made in the game.
This is made in Dreams.
That was a 3D print?
Yeah, and this is a print that was painted by one of our our artist designers.
Wow, that is so crazy.
So you can imagine like people like toy designers or product designers using it, or making board game pieces with it.
So it'd be more than it's more than just the game. It'd be more than just the game.
So that's like when we realize that it's a bit scary. And then you just go back to try not to think about it that way.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, it's exciting. Like, it's surprising how much you can actually accomplish.
And with this game, is this game a PlayStation VR?
We're working on it. That's one of the things we're really excited about. But frankly, we just haven't had as much time to work on it.
Right.
So we've got dev kits. We're playing around with it. But we just don't have it.
And Morpheus is the god of dreams, right? So it'd be it's a shooting.
There you go.
Well, I am looking forward to this. This looks like a really simple and simplistic game.
This is pretty dark actually, because this is a pair and he's got a chunk taken.
Well, moving them around.
This was one of those wow moments, just like a week ago. Really.
Wow! So the whole stage. Oh,
it's like a moving painting. Yeah.
So you think it's a painting?
Oh my goodness!
The whole thing is actually 3D, and it's like. When someone sent video around on it, I had to take. I was like, what?
Yeah, nice screenshot. And then you're like, hang on a minute.
Yeah, nice screenshot.
Wow, well that is great. Hey, well thank you for letting us be on this. This is awesome. I can't, and we don't have a date yet for this yet, correct?
No, we're doing a beta early next year. So that's about as precise as we can get right now.
Oh, okay,
we want to get people in as fast as we can.
Yeah, I can't wait to try this on there now, making me more anticipating on getting it. Hey, well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
All right. In a moment, we'll be back with